Hey guys, it's me, Cupid. I have schizophrenia. Today I wanted to talk about paranoia and schizophrenia. It's a common occurrence for people with schizophrenia. As a matter of fact, a paranoid schizophrenic is no longer a diagnosis because it is common. It is now too common for schizophrenics to have paranoia. So I'm going to go through some great information that I found about paranoia and schizophrenia, also just paranoia in general. Anyways, let's get started. So, a person who has a condition on the schizophrenia spectrum may experience delusions and what is commonly known as paranoia. These delusions may give rise to fears that others are plotting against the individual. Everyone can have a paranoid thought from time to time. On a rough day, we may find ourselves saying, "Oh boy, the whole world is out to get me," but we recognize that this is not the case. People with paranoia often have an extensive network of paranoid thoughts and ideas. This can result in a disproportionate amount of time spent thinking up ways for the individual to protect themselves from their perceived persecutors. It can lead to problems in relationships and at work. I have noticed that when I am doing good, when I'm not in a bad place, that I can see the difference between my delusions, and for the most part, there's still things that I question. Um, but I can see the difference between my delusions and not delusions. Like how I can see how they're not real even. Um, I don't know if that makes sense. So I can kind of tell when I'm being too paranoid, when I'm doing good. Um, Fast facts on paranoia and schizophrenia. People with schizophrenia often experience confusion and fear they may have delusions that someone is plotting against them. Since 2013, the subtype paranoid schizophrenia is not a separate but a part of schizophrenia. Medications and other treatment enable many patients to manage their condition. Lifelong treatment is usually needed to stop symptoms from returning. I don't necessarily believe that. I know that people probably will say a lot about me saying this, but I did really well for about 5 years without any medication. I ate healthy. I did natural things to treat my symptoms, and I did really well. I mean, of course, I went into a really bad episode, but that can happen while you're on medication. Um, that can happen anytime. I don't necessarily think that you need to be on medication for the rest of your life. I think that there are ways to treat your diagnosis without having to rely on medication for the rest of your life. Yes. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way. Before 2013, paranoid schizophrenia was considered a type of schizophrenia, but in 2013, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, reclassified paranoia or delusions as a symptom rather than a subtype. The subtypes were removed from the diagnosis criteria because of their limited diagnostic stability, low reliability, and poor validity. They were not seen as stable conditions, and they were not helping to diagnose or treat conditions related to schizophrenia. The DSM is published by the American Psychiatric Association to help standardize diagnosis of different types of mental illness. People with paranoid delusions are unreasonably suspicious of others. This can make it hard for them to hold a job, run errands, have friendships, and even go to the doctor. I know that when I'm in my delusions, I don't really want to go to the doctor. The whole time I was in my third episode, second, I went. I think I went to the doctor quite a few times while I was in my second one. But when I was in my third one, I didn't go to the doctor at all. Not until the very end when it got so bad. That's when I went to the doctor. Um, and that was mainly because I tried to kill myself, and so I was forced to go to the doctor by being put in a psych hospital. Um, But outside of that, my first my first episode, I didn't go to the doctor at all. I went to the doctor a couple of times during my second episode because my mom made me. She, saw me banging my head against the wall and wanted to help me. Um, and I just sometimes would sit there and stare at him, not say anything at all, because I thought he was in on it. Um, my doctor at the time. I also, didn't go in my third one. So it happens, you guys. It does. These beliefs can cause trouble in your relationships, and if you think that strangers are going to hurt you, you may feel like staying inside or being alone. Yeah, yeah. I had times where I closed all my curtains. I would sit in the darkness because I was scared that they could see me on cameras. So I was scared enough that I had to sit in the darkness, because then they wouldn't be able to see me. Which I know if they had night vision cameras, they probably could have, but I don't think they had those. At least I didn't at the time. I felt like, you know, people with schizophrenia aren't usually violent, but sometimes paranoid delusions can make them feel threatened and angry. If someone is pushed over the edge, their actions usually focus on family members, not the public, and it happens at home. Very rare, but it does happen. Paranoia occurs in sorry. Paranoia occurs in many mental disorders, but is most often present in psychotic disorders. Paranoia can become delusions when irrational thoughts and beliefs become so fixed that nothing, including contrary evidence, can convince a person that what they think or feel is not true. When a person has paranoia or delusions, but no other symptoms like hearing or seeing things that aren't there, they might have what is called a delusional disorder, because only thoughts are impacted. A person with delusional disorder can usually work and function in everyday life, however, their lives may be limited and isolated. Very interesting. Um, it's funny because it says something about how, including contrary evidence, I had evidence that proved those things were real, the things that were happening to me. I had evidence that proved it was real, not the other way around. And that's why I was so stuck in that delusion. Um, so I don't know. I don't know how to. Yeah. Sometimes even when you have evidence that it's not real, people still believe it. But there might be something like what happened to me where there is evidence that proves it in different ways. What causes paranoia? The cause of paranoia is a breakdown of various mental and emotional functions, including reasoning and assigned meanings. The reasons for these breakdowns are varied and uncertain. Some symptoms of paranoia relate to repressed, denied, or projected feelings. Often, paranoid thoughts and feelings are related to events and relationships in a person's life, thereby increasing isolation and difficulty with getting help. Anxiety versus paranoid thoughts. A paranoid thought is a type of anxious thought. Anxiety can cause paranoia, affecting what you're paranoid about and how long the feeling lasts. But paranoid thoughts can also make you anxious. It's normal to be anxious sometimes, especially if you're going through something hard like losing a job or the end of a relationship. When in large groups of people, you may worry that others will judge the things you say or the way you dress or behave. You might walk into a party by yourself and think everyone is wondering why I'm alone. I do that all the time where I think things when I go, like, feel like, at least when I'm in an insecure place, and that's usually when I'm not doing well. I get insecure about things and I start to wonder if everyone's out to get me, you know. Um, or I think that they're judging me for things and stuff like that. Some call this paranoid, but we all have thoughts like this from time to time. Just because you're worried that people might be talking about you doesn't mean you have a mental illness. Clinical paranoia happens when you're 100% convinced of it, even when facts prove that it isn't true. Symptoms of paranoia. The symptoms of paranoia can include being defensive, hostile, and aggressive, being easily offended, believing you are always right and having trouble relaxing or letting your guard down, not being able to compromise, forgive, or accept criticism, not being able to trust or confide in other people, reading hidden meanings into people's normal behaviors. Causes of paranoia. Now, we're going to go through a list of different things that can cause paranoia, even outside of mental disorders. Too little sleep. A single restless night probably won't cause paranoid thoughts, but if you often go without sleep, it can start to take a toll. You might not think as clearly, and you're more likely to clash with others or have misunderstandings with them. It may start to look like people are working against you when they are just acting like they always do. If you go without sleep for long enough, you could even start to see and hear things that aren't there. Stress. Stress. When the tension ratchets up in your life, you could start to feel more suspicious of other people. And the stress doesn't have to be something negative like illness or job loss. Even a happy occasion like a wedding can create a kind of stress that brings out paranoid thoughts along with the joy. Psychiatric disorders. One condition, paranoid personality disorder, can make it hard to trust others. It can cause negative thoughts about people that just aren't true, like they don't like me, they're making fun of me, or even they're plotting against me. In some cases, no amount of evidence will convince you otherwise. This can lead to true clinical paranoia. Though you might not believe every unrealistic thought that enters your head, you believe some of them. Schizophrenia, another serious disorder, can make it hard to tell what's real and what's imagined. Most of the time, you simply don't know when your thoughts have become paranoid. Friends, loved ones, or medical professionals often have to point it out and try to help you get treatment. Borderline personality disorder, in which you have fast emotional swings where you can worship someone one moment and hate them the next, can also cause paranoid thoughts and even clinical paranoia in some people. Just because you feel paranoid or worry about what others think about you from time to time doesn't mean you have a psychiatric disorder. The fact that you know your thoughts don't make sense could be a sign of good mental health. But if these paranoid... So drug use is another way that you can become paranoid. Drugs like marijuana, hallucinogenics, LSD, psychotropic mushrooms, and stimulants, cocaine and methamphetamine, have chemicals that make some people paranoid for short periods. Once the chemicals leave your system, the paranoia goes away, too. Days or weeks of intense alcohol abuse can cause short-term paranoia, and over the long term, it can lead to ongoing paranoia and even hallucinations. The paranoid thoughts are making you anxious, or if you have minor symptoms of depression, drugs can make them much worse. In some people, they can trigger a psychiatric disorder with true clinical paranoia as a symptom. Alcohol can also worsen paranoia, plus it makes us less inhibited, which makes it harder to control these feelings. Memory loss is another way that you can get paranoia. Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia, which are more likely as you age, can change your brain in ways that make you more suspicious of others. You might notice that a loved one with dementia starts to hide things like jewelry or money, or become convinced that people have bad intentions toward them. This is a part of the disease. Their doctors might be able to help you manage these symptoms. It's funny because with schizophrenia, they do say that the brain structure is different. So, anyways, that is all that I have for paranoia. I hope you guys enjoyed the information that I was able to provide. If you guys have anything that you want me to talk about, please let me know. I have some things that I have a list of things that I'm going through, and I have some people that have added to that list, but I would love more information, more ideas, whatever you guys have. Would love to hear about them. Any paranoid thoughts that you guys have had, leave a comment down below. Let me know what kinds of things that you guys found out were not real, but that you were paranoid were real, or things like that. Um, Anything else you guys want to talk about, let me know. Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you guys. Um, have a beautiful day, you guys. Stay wonderful, stay beautiful, stay amazing, stay awesome, stay unique, stay you. And above all else, love yourselves, you guys. Peace and love.